Hey, this is Phil Rosenberg, and I am a very lucky young man. Well, a very lucky man today. I am here with one of my favorite musicians in the universe, Dahlia Dumont, the creative force behind the Blue Dahlia, and one of my all-time favorite shows to go see. Who, by the way, when I met, was living in Brooklyn, and now is living in Gay Paris. That's Gay Paris or just Paris, right? I have such a good French accent, I know. So anyway, Dahlia, thanks. Yeah, lovely to
Thanks,
see
Phil.
you, and thank you so much for being here.
Always.
So there's some news, right? This isn't, first of all, we're in the middle of the pandemic, or hopefully getting towards the end of it, maybe. It's hard to tell because there might be other cycles, but we're definitely here in New York, where there's still a 6 feet social distancing thing happening, and you're not supposed to just get near people. The psychology of human interaction seems very different, right? Because it's not, I mean, New York is perhaps not the most welcoming place to visit, anyway, but now it's really like, you know, I had someone, I was walking through Prospect Park yesterday and I had my mask down for a second. I was talking to a friend of mine, he wasn't able to hear me, and we just sort of pulled off to the side of the path. Someone ran by me and said, "You're gonna die soon." And
Oh
like
my
kept
God.
running. Like it was just jogging, a dude jogging who didn't like that my mask was down. And yeah, he was really, I think he's definitely an extreme example, but just to give you an idea of the tension that
Yeah.
still exists, because don't forget, well, I don't know, so I guess was Paris the center of it for France?
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
Definitely. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
so how extreme was by the way, we're not going to stick on this for too long. I was wondering how rough was the quarantine there?
Well, so we had it kind of different from you guys. We had an imposed quarantine,
Yeah.
in the sense that well, a translation would be lockdown. So we were not even allowed to go outside except for very specific reasons for very short periods of time within just 1 kilometer in our house. And we had to write that down on an official form that the government made, sign and date it and time it. Um, and if you were stopped outside of that 1 kilometer range, or for any reason that was not on that specific form,
Yeah.
you would get a fine. But then, contrary to that, we just got out of this period of what we called confinement. So now we're allowed to go not very far, but we're allowed to go up to 100 kilometers away. And we don't have to have a reason or an excuse. Uh, People are still social distancing, but because it's not enforced and we're not going to get fined, there is definitely a feeling
Sure.
of like before and after,
Yeah,
which we're
yeah.
kind of like in and after now, and people are hanging out, people are socializing, some are. Whereas I feel like in a place like New York, because it was never absolutely enforced as in the law, it's just been this constant nonstop, we should all social distance, and who
But
knows when
there
it's
are
going to
people
end.
who are social distancing and there are people who are not, and kind
Yeah.
of never the twain shall meet. But this is a perfect, actually, segue into what I wanted to mention. So there you are in Paris, uh, one of the most social cities, beautiful places to be in the entire world, and locked indoors. And also, you're an artist, exploding, because I know how artists are at the artist soul. And so, what do you do? How do you express your artistic soul while you're in lockdown? What do you do?
Well, I took the opportunity to stop writing booking emails and promotion emails and blah 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 emails, and I got back to the source and I wrote a ton of music, and that was one thing I did, and I did it not just alone, but I did it kind of virtually with musicians that I work with, and we'd send each other tracks and make up songs, and then on top of that, I would sing out my window, which is, I guess, a segue into the song I know you're going to play. But I decided to start singing out the window every
I was
Saturday
about to
night.
say, coincidentally,
Yeah.
I have something. So, okay, perfect. I happen to have a copy of the YouTube video, actually, of you singing out the window and the block. Well, why don't we just watch it? It's pretty awesome.
Okay.
and you're singing a cover of
Edith Piaf.
Ça va chez moi, si tu meurs, que tu sois loin de moi.
Sorry?
We're not sharing screens just yet. I still see you. I don't know if you meant to share a screen, but
I totally did. Bam, bam. Oh, that's cool. We can just start that right over. Thanks. You caught me not doing it. So here it is now with the screen with the screen sharing as well. And we'll also go back to this moment.
Un jour, la vie ça va chez moi. Si tu meurs, que tu sois loin de moi. Peu m'importe si tu m'aimes, car moi je mourrai aussi. Nous aurons pour nous l'éternité dans nos voeux de toute l'immensité. Dans le ciel, plus de problèmes, mon amour, où as-tu concerne? Merci beaucoup! Bonsoir! Salut, prenez soin de vous! Bonsoir! Au revoir! Joyeux Daddy! Joyeux Daddy! Merci, merci beaucoup! Bonsoir!
All right. Yay, that was awesome. How did that feel? How did it feel? Go ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
No, it felt like I was falling off the front of a ship because it's like in a triangle shape.
Yeah.
That window,
Yeah.
my building, and it's quite high up. And then I had no idea if that was really the first time I did that. It ended up becoming a bit of a series, but I had no idea if the neighbors were gonna like it, and they seemed to
They
really
loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually got some like national attention on French TV, and they came to my house and filmed me doing it again. So that was cool.
I heard. Yeah. So I imagine now going out and getting a gig in your neighborhood over there is going to be super easy. How long until the bar's open?
Well, there's talk about them opening in like mid-June, but there's nothing for certain. I think they're watching to see if the numbers are good. But I think that it's a long time before we're going to start getting booked again, because even if the bar is open, they're probably all super broke.
But if you bring in a crowd, but the point is, if as a musician, you can bring in a crowd and you're the famous girl who sung out the window and you're in a local cafe, isn't everyone going to want to re-experience that? Come have a glass of wine and hug.
Not a bad idea.
I think so. I would want to. If I lived over there and I knew you were playing, I'd take my teary ass over there. Teary, I mean, I'd probably be crying thinking about the moment, want to go have a drink, hug my neighbors, vive la France, all that kind of thing, right?
Totally.
So
good idea.
I think so. If I were a bar owner, you would be able to talk me into it based on that. And you know what? If I were unsure as a bar owner, maybe you could say, okay, well, if you're not sure, you can make a deal for the bar, a percentage of the bar.
Yeah.
And over and above whatever he's expecting to make in a normal, situation. Anyway, besides that, it's so wonderful to see you singing. It is really nice to see the audience reaction, or the not audience, but I guess they are an audience, but just people. And like, what a way to have a hug long distance, or to give a hug,
It was truly special, and connecting for the little several block radius that it touched, and then especially because it originally was done as part of the 8 p.m. applause that was happening during our confinement period every single night to thank healthcare workers and frontline workers. So it really truly was in a spirit of solidarity, which
Can you hear my pussycat?
Oh, oh my goodness. What's her name?
Isabel. She's a
Ah,
cutie.
she's
She's a
so
cutie. She's
cute.
very, very sweet. She likes to cuddle at night. So especially when it's cold. When it's warm, she's like, "Meow, get away from me."
Yeah,
Or
like humans, I guess.
yeah, kind of, yeah. So let's talk a little bit about what your expectation for, like, what's the first thing you're going to do post-pandemic? As soon as it's over and you can go out and go into a bar, or have you already experienced that moment? What was the first thing? Did you get your favorite hamburger or something? Or your
So,
favorite crepe, maybe? I don't know, glass of wine. What was it?
yeah, well, I mean, like the restaurants are still not really open. We can get takeout, but that's not that exciting.
Oh,
No, honestly, the first thing I did already do once we got out of that lockdown stage was hang out with some friends, and we would stay in small groups, and we would try not to get too close to each other, but we just like really missed each other. And of course, with my friends, it always turns into like a jam session. So I've done a few of those, like some like on the street of like a pedestrian street, some in the park, and that's been really fun. But honestly, once it's truly over, I want to go on some kind of like hippie tour where even if I can't make money, I'm just like paying my way and my meals and playing music and hanging out with my friends. And then of course I really need to get back to the States to visit my family and my friends. So that's going to happen too.
speaking of which, so your daughter is with you, of course, right? Or is she
Yeah.
not? She
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
So are you going to take her on your hippie travels then, I guess?
That is not off the table, and it's been done before. Sometimes I'm alone because she stays with her dad,
Yeah.
but she's also been with me on my hippie tours before. So we'll just have to see what the. But she's cool. She can hang and she
Oh
can
no, I've
actually
met her.
sing.
I've met her at one of your. We remember at Prospect Park, and yeah, do you remember that time? And I came down there. Your daughter was there, and she was like, everyone's like, okay, listen to the little girl play, and then we all like jumped on top of it. It was nice. So I remember
She's got an
she's.
incredible voice now too.
Oh
So
really?
maybe she can take my place. Yeah.
She's destined to not maybe take it, perhaps be the duo
Oh
that
yeah.
you're. How old is she?
She's now 12.
12. So let's say like
Okay.
17 in 5 years. You guys can do gigs together. Maybe before that.
Yeah, well, yeah, for sure. She's already like gotten on stage with me before and sung a song. She's even gotten on stage and sung one of her own songs before. It all kind of depends on how bold
So at
she.
the age of 12, I'm sorry, she has her own songs.
Oh yeah, she's
That's
definitely like
something
messing
worth
around.
mentioning, right? Don't you think?
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
she's messing around with that. Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna have to. Our next interview perhaps will be with her, or
Yeah.
maybe with her in your lap, and maybe she'll do a song for us.
What?
Maybe she'll do a song for us. Maybe she'll sing
Oh
something next
yeah.
time. Yeah, I
I
would love
will.
it.
I'll run it by her, but I wouldn't put it past her. She just might. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so I have another tune, and then we're going to talk for another second, and then we're going to sign off for the evening. I know it's late there in Paris. Uh, Tell me a little bit about the walls in confinement.
So there was a period in the beginning of our confinement, which is what they call the lockdown here, when I didn't have my daughter with me. She was with her dad, and I felt this fear of not being able to get her or see her because we were in lockdown. On top of that, feeling sad about my parents being alone in the United States and not being allowed to go home. And that kind of spun this song, which then became a song not just about that personal situation, but all sorts of physical and you know I can't think of the word.
Spiritual,
Spiritual,
emotional,
metaphorical, yeah,
metaphysical.
walls in our lives, and that's why at the end of the music video, I added a lot of photos of walls in our world, but they can also just be like walls between families that won't speak or won't let their children marry because they're of a different race or religion. I
Oh,
mean,
metaphorical was the word you were
yeah,
looking for.
that's yeah. I couldn't think of that word for some reason. But anyway, I
So
did this.
physical walls are walls of metaphor. So that's a perfect place to start. Let's take a look at the song.
Okay.
Let's listen, let's watch, and then let's talk a little bit more about it when we come back.
Okay.
This time I will not forget to share my screen. Okay.
to learn to warm these lonely nights. Come, say, did I wait too long to ask you to come home to me? And now the walls have gone up, and now they'll keep us apart. They say it is to protect us, but who will save me from my broken heart? Come, say it won't be the same if we make it to the other side. Will you be much changed? Come, say, have I wasted you? No, sorry, would have been as hard as this. Oh, bird, would you come to my window and keep me company? Tell me what it's like on the other side of the wall, and carry my love back to me. Do 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 and now walls have gone up, and now they'll keep us apart. They say it is to protect us, but who will save me from my broken heart?
All right. A+, my dear.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So how is it, I guess, to be an artist and feel that closed in, trapped space, and like what it, is that right inside the box of confinement, right? Like, what is that like for you?
I think that all creative people need to express themselves when they have these feelings that everyone is sharing. Everyone feels that box. But creative people, so AKA artists, really are the type of people who just need to put it out there in some kind of media. And we're very lucky that we have internet, because I'm able to communicate with other musicians and create a song like that and a video like that and put it out into the world and get feedback from friends and family and fans, and almost still feel like we are creative, we are being creative, we are touching people, we are getting out those feelings of being confined. And in that sense, we're very lucky, because everybody's feeling confined, but not everybody knows how to get those feelings out.
I see what you mean. Yeah, yeah. All right, that's a great spot to end it for now. Thank you so much, Dahlia. It is always such a super pleasure. Yeah, yeah. It's so good to see you. I can't wait until I can give you a hug without fear of
Yeah.
contagion. Right,
Yes.
right. You know what I mean? And
Uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I hugged my friend's shoe the other day because I just needed to hug him so bad.
So sweet, so sweet.
I don't know how clean that was.
Anyway, my dear, I'll see you when you come back to New York. I can't wait. Come see your show. In the meantime, what is a way that people can get in touch with you if they want to hear more music from you or some of your tales of travel? What, you know?
Well, a one-stop shop is my website because I do have music out there on Spotify and Instagrams, but it's a little confusing between the band name, the Blue Dahlia, and my name, Dahlia Dumont. So if you just go to either thebluedahliamusic.com or dahliadumont.com, those are both my domains, and you can see all the work I've released and contact information. And
It's really funny how you say that like without any French accent. Like I would like you really hit the T hard, you know?
well, I'm used to. I know that Americans will understand Dahlia Dumont. They won't understand like Dahlia Dumont. They'll be
Right,
like,
right,
"How do you
right.
spell that?"
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, true.
Yeah.
DahliaDumont.com. Got it.
That's it.
All right. Well, as I said, a pleasure. It's really nice to see your smiling face. Can't wait to give you a hug.
Yeah.
Thank you for being my guinea pig for first episode of Art in the Pandemic.
It's my pleasure.
All right.
Safe.
Thanks, Dahlia. Bye, my dear.